Hi, I'm Ben Amon and with Cole Becker, and we did our presentation on artificial reproductive technology, also known as ART. So the history of ART is that in the 1890s was actually the first attempts or looks at ART in which embryos were attempted to be transferred from animal to animal. And it wasn't yet in humans, but it's in non-human species. The first successful actual IVF or in vitro fertilization, which will be explained later, was done in rabbits in 1959 in China. The first IVF pregnancy in humans, though, was done in 1973, and the first IVF successful birth, was in 1978 in England. The one in 1973 occurred, she became pregnant, however, unfortunately, the baby died of an early miscarriage. So there's six main types of ART or artificial reproductive technology. In vitro fertilization is by far the most popular. In vitro fertilization means in vitro literally means outside of body. So what happens is there's several steps that they go through, and basically she ovulates, the eggs are taken outside of the body, the male sperm is then used to fertilize the egg or multiple eggs, creating multiple embryos outside of the body. These embryos are then implanted back into the uterus, and as many as you want can be implanted, and then the rest are either frozen or disposed of. And as you can see in the diagram, it shows the steps of in vitro fertilization. And the other parts are gift, ZIFT, ICSI, donor, egg, embryo, and surrogacy. So gift and ZIFT are very similar to IVF. However, instead of being inputted actually into the uterus, they are actually inputted into the fallopian tubes. And gift is gamete intrafallopian transfer, and ZIFT is zygote intrafallopian transfer. The other three, ICSI, donor, egg, embryo, and surrogacy, are not as popular, but they still are used. So an example of somebody who actually used this technique is the lady who is known as Octomom. So Octomom, also known as Nadia Suleiman, gave birth to octuplets, or 8 children at once, through IVF methods. So she actually had 12 separate embryos placed inside her uterus, and all of them were attempted to become babies. However, 4 of them did not come through, but 8 did, and this broke the survival duration of all octuplets beforehand. However, it turns out that she'd been on welfare and was using the welfare and getting donations to pay for IVF. So rather than using the what it's used for, like when you're barren or infertile, she was sort of using it as a like I guess a money maker. So the real aspiration of ART in more than to some extent in vitro fertilization is to make it so that any couple or woman who wishes to have a child who but is unable to do so by natural methods can do it affordably and effectively. That is the real aspiration of this procedure. So there are some ethical issues about this in vitro fertilization, though, because the role of the mother and father is blurred. So this really occurs because once you do an in vitro fertilization, you don't actually need to use your own egg or own sperm. This means that your child you can be the you could be the genetic child, mother or father of that baby, but not actually be the caretaker of that baby. This is seen in surrogacy, where you have someone to birth the child for you. However, this is it begins to like add where how much does the genetic mother have to do with the baby's life? Does she have any say in the life? If not, then why shouldn't she? And it really blurs like what it means to be the mother and father of the baby. Also, there's this idea of this baby selling empire. It becomes this capitalist movement, rather than doing it so that those who cannot have babies can. It becomes sort of a business of this baby manufacturing system where you just pump out as many children as you can and try to gain as much money as possible. Also, this seems a little odd, but are the children really human? Some people feel that since they weren't birthed in natural manner, are they truly human because they didn't actually come into this world normally? This is very controversial idea, but it is worth the notion that what are you supposed to be born by natural means? And that also brings us to the idea of that, like, is this man's place to do something where you're sort of going against what is natural or the norm in in society and in nature. So, along with these ethical issues, though, are the practical issues. So, the cost of in vitro fertilization or any ART method is extremely high. This is because it's a relatively newer procedure, and one procedure can cost up to in higher than $11,000, and it's not even guaranteed to work. Which brings us to the next idea that the ART procedure has an extremely low success rate. The odds of that child coming to full term and being born and surviving is less than 14%, which is extremely low compared to the actual natural birth rate. This means that those who are attempting to do the surgery still cannot do it effectively. Also, there are no current regulations on what is okay and not okay in artificial reproductive technology. This is shown in the example with Octomom, where she actually puts 12 embryos inside her as almost a commercial usage of these embryos as children. I mean, as money makers. That seems sort of strange and off, but there's no regulation on how many embryos you can actually put inside you. The recommended maximum is 4 because it is expected that not all of them will develop. Yet any more than 4, there's the possibility that that all or almost all of them can, and putting the procedure at risk can cause problems with the mother and the children. Also, when these embryos are put together, are they, bringing us back to the ethical issues, are they now human, or when do they become humans? When are they no longer just sperm and egg, or just property, or just cells? When do they actually retain human qualities? Because if it is when they become an embryo, how are we freezing humans and not allowing them to live? Also, this brings us into the idea that do they have this? What rights do they have as being things that develop into humans? Are they allowed the same lives and the same inheritance? Such as if you were to have frozen embryos and an inheritance was left to the children, are they allowed? Are they supposed to be brought in or not? So there is a very multifaceted argument, and it is very hard to actually decipher everything that's going on since it is so complex. And yeah, so here is our bibliography, and thank you very much.